mother forced her to use a wheelchair and fake cancer for 24 long years, until she stood up and made a brutal decision. Gypsy Rose had become a symbol of struggle. However, she made a terrible decision that would land her in jail, and she'd reveal a secret that had deceived an entire nation.
She took me to the hospital and then told me that the doctor gave her a wheelchair and I have to be in a wheelchair now.
Forever.
Forever.
Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard, her mother, were loved by the whole community. The little girl lived with a series of conditions and diseases that didn't allow her to develop normally. They were the perfect duo, but they hid a dark secret.
She was like one of the happiest people I had ever met, and yet she was the most sick that I had ever met at the same time.
Dee Dee showed herself to be a woman who was very worried about her daughter, always accompanying her everywhere and helping her to fulfill her dreams. She created an image that was revered by an entire country.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
However, behind all of Gypsy and Dee Dee's resilience, hid a secret that was only exposed after a horrible crime was committed that shocked the entire United States. The fairy tale was actually a sordid hell.
Did you ever consider, in a public place, if you stood up out of your wheelchair and walked, Dee Dee's fraud would be completely exposed?
I honestly didn't think about that.
It never crossed your mind?
No.
So instead of planning an elaborate escape, you planned a murder. Instead of planning an elaborate escape, you planned a murder.
Yes.
Gypsy wanted to escape what she was living somehow. She had never truly suffered from the illnesses that her mother told her she had, and the only escape route she could think of was Dee Dee's death. "That bitch is dead," was what was read on her social media.
My vision was still of this fragile little girl, and that was shattered.
Tired of the role that her mom forced her to play, she decided to plan the murder of her mother with the help of her boyfriend. Nick Gojon was a young man she met on a dating site. He was obsessed with Gypsy and irate with Dee Dee for not letting them see each other. He decided to become part of the macabre escape plan.
Did Gypsy know that you were going to kill her mother?
Honestly, she asked me to.
The scene was straight out of a horror movie. Nick had entered Dee Dee's house while she slept. He got in with Gypsy's help, and he murdered her mother with a knife.
Do you know how many times you stabbed her?
4.
You stabbed her 4?
Yeah, 4 times.
Okay.
The 4th one, I felt it go into, I think it might have been her lungs.
Okay.
It was harder to get out.
The case caused a commotion throughout the United States because, of course, it destroyed a tale that everyone had believed. Gypsy was held hostage by her mother, who suffered from a severe syndrome that made her lie about her daughter's health to receive care and benefits.
We have unearthed the appearance of a long financial fraud scheme along with this tragic event.
The young woman had grown up believing that she lived with countless diseases. She was confined to a wheelchair even though she knew she could walk. So she finally took the most desperate decision to escape.
Do you think she protected you?
No, not in certain ways, yes, in other ways, no. I think that she was very sick in her mind.
Gypsy would be sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Nick was sentenced to life imprisonment. Somehow, the young woman claims that she feels freer behind bars than she ever did during all those years with her mother. As for her diseases, nothing was what it seemed.
The only thing that I have wrong with me is I have a little bit of a lazy eye. Not all the time, but I have better vision in this eye than I do that eye. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
One of the
these women is facing a murder charge, and the other just got sentenced to probation. Let's get into it. In June of 2022, Kyrie Starks was an 11-month-old baby boy living in Michigan with his 18-year-old mother, Taylor Starks. On June 13th, Kyrie's mother left him in the care of her 21-year-old friend, Kamari Hodges. Little did she know, it was a decision that would prove to be deadly. Now, while Kyrie's mother was at work, she received a frantic text from her friend Kamora saying that her son had had an allergic reaction to eating soap. Now, within 10 minutes, Kyrie's mother was on the scene and 911 was called. Kyrie's mother initially believed her friend's story about her son eating soap. However, when she got to the hospital, they told her something shocking.
All I know is that she threw my son into the wall and shook him up pretty bad, but they said that's just a bit of what she did to him. My baby was on the ground having seizure after seizure after seizure. He had blood force trauma to the head and he was bleeding out his ears where he had to have immediate brain surgery.
Now, Kyrie spent a little over a week in the hospital fighting for his life, but sadly, on June 22nd, 2022, he passed away from his injuries. Now, Kamora was initially charged with first-degree child abuse. However, now that Kyrie has passed away, detectives are working with prosecutors to up her charges to first-degree murder.
I'm only 18. I don't have a mom. I don't have a dad. I don't have any family. It's just me and my baby.
Prayers for his mother. Rest in peace, little man. Now, y'all stay tuned because we about to jump into case number 2. Now, on January 14th, 2022, 31-year-old Jeanette Smith went to the Martin Luther King Apartments in Michigan to pick up some food from her friend. And when Jeanette came into the apartment, she took off her coat and went into the kitchen to talk to her friend. Now, as both women were kicking it in the kitchen, they heard a loud bang come from the living room, and they immediately went into the living room where they found a 3-year-old boy laying on the floor. Now, apparently the little boy was bleeding from the head, so Jeanette's friend, who was the little boy's mother, took him to the hospital. Now, a police investigation would later determine that Jeanette had a handgun inside of her jacket pocket, and that when she stepped into the kitchen, the little boy found the handgun and accidentally shot himself in the head. Now, luckily, the 3-year-old did survive, but Jeanette was charged with careless, negligent, and reckless use of a firearm. Now, in June of 2022, Jeanette Smith was sentenced to 2 years of probation, and she cannot own, use, or possess a firearm during that time. She must also forfeit all weapons, and her concealed pistol license is being revoked. Now, do y'all think she should have gotten more than just 2 years of probation? Drop your opinions in the comment section, and don't forget to follow my page for more weird, strange, but true stories.
What's up, everybody? All right, you guys, so before I get started, I was contacted personally by a dear friend of mine. We all know Mama Tot. She's very motivational. She's always there to uplift others, but today she needs us. On Friday night, between the times of 7 and 7:30 p.m. in Pritchard, Alabama, Randon Lee, which is Mama Tot's son, was shot. So Randon went to this gas station on St. Stevenson's Road to meet someone, and this person allegedly shot him. Now, after Randon was shot in the shoulder, it's being said that he was able to drive himself to another gas station where he sadly died. Now, what makes this story even more sad is this was the day before Randon's 19th birthday. Mama Tot needs our help in trying to locate who killed her son, because whoever did this is walking around in their town.
Celia Nichols, who says her son was murdered just hours before his birthday.
Yes, Nicolette, such a tragic story. Today would have been Randon Lee's 19th birthday. His mother says her son was excited for a birthday he never got to celebrate.
You see other people go through stuff like this, and it never crosses your mind that would one day be you.
Ophelia Nichols, a popular TikTok star known as Mama Tot, normally fills her feed with lighthearted content. But Saturday morning, she took to the social media platform with a different message, grieving the loss of her son, Randon Lee, who she says was murdered in Pritchard Friday evening.
I know that there's a lot of people in our town that follow behind me. You know, people talk. People talk. So I wanted that video to be seen because if the person who did this to my son could see what he did to our family, he took my son from me. It's my son.
Saturday was supposed to be a day for celebration for Randon, his 19th birthday.
Y'all, Randon was just a baby. He did not deserve this. And for the killer to just be walking around where they're from is even more crazier. My heart goes out to Miss Ophelia. Now, you guys, I need you to blow this up. Share it on all platforms because whoever did this to Randon needs to be put in jail.
I just really couldn't see, happy birthday, Randon. So I just walked outside and I talked to the sky and I told my son, happy birthday. Individual, make the choice to take your child from you. He had a choice. They had a choice. And they chose to take my son from me. Now there's going to be 2 families messed up.
And although Pritchard Police Department has released very little information regarding this case, this mother is patiently waiting